that concept of what does a professional sheriff look like, what does professional service look like. And we know that the future, I should say we know that, I am absolutely certain the future of great public safety is regional. It doesn't mean, you have your neighborhood police departments and things, but the other side of it is when there's a big issue, who is best suited to come alongside and help so that you don't have to overstaff just in case there's a big event. And so we know that big events happen. There is an organization that's already designed to do just that, and it is the Sheriff's Department. They're uniquely positioned to come alongside St. Paul for special projects when there's needs in a community. You don't have to hire extra cops. Call the sheriff, who should be your colleague. Work on some projects to make the community safer, and then go back to doing some of those other duties in the other part of the county. We do the same thing throughout the county, from New Brighton to Badness Heights and White Bear Lake, all of those folks. And so as we started thinking about what does the future of law enforcement look like, all these chiefs from those communities said, Matt, now's the time to run. We've worked with you in the past on regional issues. You get it. You understand that it's not about competing with each other. It's understanding that if it's good for St. Paul, it's good for Ramsey County. If it's good for New Brighton, it's good for Ramsey County. And so together, there's some interesting things that happen. One, you rebuild that community trust that's so vital to be successful in public safety. The officers and deputies need to be trusted by the community that they serve. And so, second, you got to make sure that you have that same level of trust with other law enforcement agencies so that they understand when the sheriff shows up, they're not there to compete, they're there to help. And then the other thing is be wise with the taxpayer's dollar. I mean, I always have looked at it that way. When I look at my paycheck, somebody entrusted me with their money to keep them safe. That's a pretty high charge. And so my objective is to take those principles department-wide at the Sheriff's Department. Understand that what we are doing is people don't have enough money. So let's do well with what we have and not raise the budget for 2 years. We're going to lock it in at 2010 level, and we're going to live with that, deliver great service, and then make a determination. Has the economy turned around enough that maybe we should ask for more? Or are we still able to meet our goals and objectives of great public service? And then the other thing is be really intentional about how you grow your institution. Meaning, if you're going to build a great public safety agency, you've got to build it from within. That means that agency needs to look like the community that it serves. And it should look like that when you walk in the door. It should look like that in middle management, and it needs to look like that at the top. And so here I am, a St. Paul officer running for the sheriff's job. All right? I'd like to be successful. I'd like to be the last person that does that. I'd like all the future sheriff's deputies to be those people from our community that have had those opportunities to work their way up through the ranks, so I can look back with pride and say, we made this a better place. We were able to raise people from within our communities, give them opportunities to be successful in that agency so that they understand the core values in St. Paul and countywide. I think it's a great opportunity to do some things because, as I hand it off to John here in just a second, there's another piece to this that comes into play. John will probably talk about it in his comments. But one of the things that I've seen and what the opportunity is that's before us is as sheriff to understand that when people are taken into custody, you keep them safe. They shouldn't hurt themselves or others while they're being detained. When they get to court, they should have a safe opportunity and be heard there. And then if the judge and the jury decide one way or the other, then we take charge of them again. It should not come as a surprise that they're going to get released at the end of that sentence. So the question is, when they're in my custody, what am I doing? Am I just letting them sit there, or am I giving them opportunities? There's so many groups out there that provide educational services, job services, chemical dependency services. They're just waiting for an opportunity to get introduced to these people. That's my job, I think, as sheriff, is to provide the environment where they can make that touch. So think in terms of this. What happens if 10 out of 10 people, 2 of them don't return to the system? What does that do for those 2 people? What does that do for those families? What does that do for the community that they live in? And by the way, not only isn't that more expensive, I think if you can do the math, that's a 20% decrease in detention, courts, and some of the other things that happen in the community. So it's with that in mind. John's already done some of those strategies in the county, or the city attorney's office. And so when you see us together, we both understand that this isn't about just the county attorney doing their job and the county sheriff doing their job. It's about putting those 2 things together, not looking at it as that we're independent politicians. We're public servants that happen to be running for office. And And so I really, some people say this is a unique opportunity. I really do. I underline unique because I can't think of a time in my life where you've had a like-minded county attorney and a like-minded sheriff pursuing an overarching public safety criminal justice focus, because this is a really unique opportunity. I don't want to overplay it. It is the landscape. This is an amazing opportunity, and I'm excited to share it with you. It's my hope that if that's your vision, that you'll join me on November 2nd and tell your neighbors that this is our time. Let's make a course correction. I use that analogy. My campaign staff will probably laugh, but we really are putting both hands on the rudder of a very, very big ship that's been positioned for 150 years going a certain direction, and I want to make a course correction. I want to shift it just in a little bit different way so that from here on out we can look back on these days and say those were the days where we made an intentional thing to not think of the sheriff's department as an afterthought. What does the sheriff do? We said, wait a minute, that's an underpinning of how we make a safe community. And so I invite you to, if I'm sharing a vision for the sheriff's department that's consistent with your vision and values, I'd really love to have you along and continue to help our community. So thank you very much.